Mindset for Business Excellence. This webinar aims to provide insights on how to develop the progressive, collaborative, and resilient mindset for business excellence. It's a privilege for me today to welcome again to our eminent dignitaries present on board. I extend my sincere gratitude to our very own guiding light and mentor, Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir in absentia, Professor Dr. R.D. Patidar, Sir, for giving us this wonderful opportunity for conducting this webinar. I also express my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Himanshu Vaishnav, PG Program Head, and Dr. J.P. Rath, UG Program Head, for their continuous support and guidance. I am profusely elated to take an opportunity to welcome and introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Hitesh Kumar Gulati, a human capital transformation and change consultant with 22 years of diversified experience in change management competencies, process-oriented culture, and data-driven decisions for business. Sir has received his PGDBA HR from Symbiosis Center for Distance Learning. He is a certified PPA practitioner in personal profile analysis and human job analysis by Thomas International, certified master trainer under Green Campus program. He has been leading HR transformational projects in food and hospitality, electrical, home appliances, steel, textile, real estate, hospitality and leisure, education and overseas education, consulting industry, and reporting writing consultation for government and academia. He strongly advocates and promotes aligning of people, process, competencies, and culture with organizations' vision and business growth. Without further ado, now I would like to invite our honorable speaker of the day, Mr. Hitesh Kumar Gulati, for sharing his wisdom and expert view on the topic. Please, sir, and enlighten us by your knowledge and experience.
Thank you so much, Dr. Deepti, for inviting me here. And we both know about this particular journey that we have been trying very long about this particular session. And luckily, the day is here. In spite of what all I think schedule you all were having there itself, in spite of that, also you were able to conduct this particular online session, right? And the way you have introduced me, I always say I hope I'll be able to come up to your expectations.
Thank you so much for taking out your precious time for
Right.
our students, and we are looking forward to hear you, sir.
Thank you so much. And my dear young aspiring management professionals, I would say friends, and my dear faculty members, again my friends and professionals, right? We'll keep it interactive. I'll not be the one person who will be having a monologue, but we'll keep it interactive, in which I'll involve you in discussions on this PCR. As ma'am has already shared the full form, so let's have a quick test. Who all have listened to this particular PCR right from the very beginning when you started sharing about PCR? Then we'll go further into this. So what is the full form of PCR here, and what is the first thing which strikes our mind if we have not listened to that full form of PCR shared by Dr. Deepti? Pehli cheez, I hope I can make it a mixture of English and Hindi, or you want it pure in English. However you want it, I'll do it accordingly.
Students, you all can write it in a chat box, or if you can unmute yourself, please answer the question of sir.
We are good with both. Okay. In both languages, right? So I'll keep it both English and Hindi, right? That is the first thing that I should have asked you right in the beginning. Hindi and English maximum. Okay. I'll keep it English maximum, a little bit of Hindi, adding spices with Hindi, right? So, what is the first thing which strikes your mind when I talk about this word called PCR? PCR. The first thing which strikes our mind. Anybody, let it be a faculty or a student, anybody, what is the first thing which comes to our mind when we say PCR? Put call ratio, Shruti has shared. Can we have more answers? And Dr. Deepti, my time is till 12 o'clock. Am I right?
Sir?
12 o'clock? Till 12 o'clock?
Yeah, 12 o'clock.
Right, right. So Mohit ji has shared
Okay, progressive, collaborative, resilient.
progressive, collaborative, and resilient. So that means Mohit was sharing right in the starting. Rest of the answers we have from Riyan saying plan, change, review, and Manish Sagar saying polymerase chain reaction. This is polymerase chain reaction is one answer which I get from a lot of participants when I take this particular session on PCR mindset, right? So, but then since we all are from management background, so I have also kept the full form in management language. P is progressive, C is collaborative, and R is resilient. So we'll unfold PCR one by one, but before that, let me share my presentation on the screen and we'll go further into PCR. What is PCR and how that is, right? And I'll request all dear faculty members as well as students to keep this momentum on till 12 o'clock. We should be involved in the discussions, right? I hope Dr. Deepti, we all are able to see the screen.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
So as I shared with you, P is progressive, C is collaborative, and R is resilient mindset, right? Now first take the first part, progressive, and when we dive deep into this progressive mindset part, let's take this particular slide which talks about thinking and change, right? We'll first take thinking. We'll first take thinking. We all know for completing any particular task, we need past focused thinking, present focused thinking, and future focused thinking. So if you have to rate it on a scale of 100, you have to rate it on a scale of 100 for which kind of thinking, what percentage you'll allot. I'm again repeating it. For completing any particular task, we need all three different types of thinking: past focused thinking, present focused thinking, and future focused thinking. Now, my question is, on a scale of 100, what is the percentage that you'll allocate to different types of thinking? Yes, let's have some answers. Either unmute and share, or you can write it in the chat box. I'll take time, but not as much as I'm going to take on this particular slide. Yes, can we have some answers? On a scale of 100, I am repeating it once again. On a scale of 100, what is the percentage you will allocate to three different types of to complete your task? Nobody wants to share? Okay, can any one of you share with me among these three different types of thinking, which kind of thinking makes a lot of difference when you complete any particular task? या कौन सी ऐसी थिंकिंग है जिसका परसेंटेज ज्यादा होना चाहिए? Riyansha is saying future thinking, whereas Shruti says past, and Dr. Deepti says present. Mohitji also says present. Satendra, future thinking. Again, Hanif says present focus thinking. Madhumita says present thinking. A lot of answers we are getting in present. So the right answer for this is present focus thinking. But my dear friends and faculty members, why we need more of present focus thinking and less of past focus and future focus thinking? Can we have some answers here? You are right. Present focus thinking would have the maximum percentage as compared to past focus thinking and future focus thinking. But why? Or I'll put the question in another form. If we go too much into past focus thinking, what can be the after effects? If I'll go too much into past focus thinking, I'm again repeating the question, what can be the after effects?
So we won't be able to focus on our present, and then accordingly we won't be able to prepare ourselves for future if we
Very
will be in past, too
right,
much in past.
right. Rishiji, it is right that past help us to gain experience as we can use it in present. Very right. Hanif says downfall of the organization would be there if we are going too much in the past, whereas Mohit says because the future is uncertain and the past is done, so we should be more focused on now so that we can have a strategic solution. Very good. And Anushka says, sir, because future is uncertain, so concentrating more in future focus thinking wouldn't do anything good to us. Sir, because Riyancha says, sir, because it allows us to engage in present and instead worrying about worrying for future. Very good to listen to your views that you have shared in the chat box. And Dr. Deepthi and all my dear faculty members and students, if we go too much into the past focus thinking in terms of different signs that we have, if you are going too much in the past, either we are in denial. If you go too much into the past, either we are into denial or resistance mode because we are preferring that the things that were run for ages was the right way of doing the things, and we should not change those particular systems. So past sometimes creates or past, if we are too much into the past, that basically keeps us in comfort zone, and resistance is our fear zone. Due to fear also we don't want to try out something new, and that is the reason we are going too much into the past, right? Whereas if you see on the screen, if you go on the right hand side, these denial, resistance, exploration, and commitment are the stages of change. Being from management background, all of us we understand these are stages of change, but I have added some spices with staying in confusion, crying in confusion, joy of confusion, and cry of joy. That I'll share it with you one by one, right? So denial, what denial does is when we talk about any particular change, regardless of whether that change would be positive or negative, we don't want to listen to hear to new information. And on the face of the person who's bringing in the change, we will say that we are with you, but inside we are saying that I am not going to change myself with these particular processes or systems. So denial is there because we are in a comfort zone and adapt we don't want to adapt to new changes in our particular professional life. Resistance comes second in the stage, and resistance is a better stage than denial, where we are partially ready to adapt to those particular changes. But partially ready means we are not fully ready, right? In resistance, we either blame a person or a situation which didn't work earlier. So even if somebody is now trying to bring in the same sort of changes which was tried earlier 2 or 3 years back, we'll talk about those particular instances or situation that that person was not able to bring in those change. So how come this new person will bring in these changes? And these two, denial and resistance, they always keeps us in the past. We always glorify the past in such kind of instances, and if we are having this kind of, you can say, mindset, that means we are having a fixed mindset and we are in a state of confusion. That is the reason I have mentioned on the left hand side of the slide, we'll stay in confusion if we are too much in denial or resistance. Now let's take an example. Deepti ma'am, we have Dr. Himanshu and you from faculty members, and we have other faculty members also.
So there are other faculty members also who have joined.
Right. So for an example, I'll take, let's suppose these changes, for bringing in the changes in any particular process or system, Dr. Deepti and Dr. Himanshu, they have taken the initiative, right? And Hitesh is a negative leader. So let's take an example of this, right? So they are bringing in the changes in the process or systems, and they are able to take you from resistance to exploration also. Now, exploration is when you are having a future focused thinking, and you are having a future focused, you can say, state of mind. You are able to foresee things in next 2 or 3 years, and you are able to design your systems and processes keeping those things in mind. So the first two stages, 70% of the people will come till the second stage, and only 30% of the people will go to the third stage. Exploration is discovery or experimentation. And my dear friends, when we are talking about discovery or experimentation, and if suppose Dr. Deepti and Dr. Himanshuji are bringing in 30 to 40% changes in process or systems, is the success rate that would be higher, or the failure rate would be higher when we are bringing in 30 to 40% changes in process or systems? In exploration, when we are experimenting or discovering new things, and let's suppose they both are bringing in 30 to 40% changes, the success rate would be higher or the failure rate would be higher in such a case? Let's have some answers in the chat box. Initially, success rate will be less, shared by Dr. Deepti. Failure rate, Mohit, failure rate would be higher or it would be lower? It will be higher, very right. So based on these two answers, Dr. Deepti and Mohit, and Madhumita has also answered, success rate will be lower. So almost most of the participants present here, most of my dear faculty members and the man, you can say young aspiring management professional, they agree with this, that success rate would be lower. So if success rate is lower and only 30% of the people have gone till exploration, out of those 30% people, how many people will be there in the third stage, and how many people will fall back to resistance stage? Any idea? Just an approximate figure. I'm repeating my question once again. When we are doing this experimentation or discovery, there are chances that the failure rate would be higher than success rate, and the reason for that can be, you can say, there would be a lot of chaos, indecisiveness, due to which a lot of people will leave this particular stage and they'll go back to the resistance stage. So if 30% of the people are present in exploration, how many how much percentage of people will go back to resistance, and how many people would be there in the still there in the exploration stage? 85% will fall back, Mohit has shared. Approximately 10% will retain back to exploration stage, Shruti says. And I'll also add to this, there would be only 2 to 5%. This is the thing that I was going to share, Yansha. Very right. It would be around 2 to 5% of the people who will stick to this particular stage, because this is a hanger stage. And when there is a lot of chaos or indecisiveness, it is our general human nature in such kind of instances, we leave that particular game. Why I'm talking about this word called game, reason being, those 2 or 5% of the people, in spite of those particular confusion also, will not take this particular change as a task, but that will become a game for them or challenge for them. So only 2 to 5% of the people will be here in the exploration. And in spite of those many gaps, or you can say chaos, indecisiveness, they'll be able to find out the solutions and they'll reach the last stage, which is called as commitment, in which they'll become much more balanced. They'll work with team cooperation. And if you see the words on the screen, stay in confusion, that again I'm repeating it, if you're too much in the past, you'll always glorify the past, and that will keep you in a state of confusion and you'll have a fixed mindset. Whereas if you are able to cross this resistance and go to exploration and stick there for time, you'll be able to go to the last stage. Otherwise, if you'll fall back from exploration to resistance, you'll cry in confusion. And I'll share the reason for that. Those 30% of the people who went with Dr. Deepti and Dr. Himanshu to the third stage, they were also having it inside that they'll bring in those changes in those processing systems with them. So they also wanted to try out something new. But in between, they lost that particular hope because they were not having that perseverance, and they fall back to resistance. So as I said, this is the hanger stage. If they fall back to resistance, they'll cry in confusion. Whereas if they take that particular thing as a challenge, so out of that confusion, which can either break you, that means it can take back to resistance, or it can make you. So that confusion will become more like a joy for them and as a challenge for them, and they will be able to reach the last stage. Now, as Riansha has shared, if 2 or 5% of the people are able to reach the last stage, whereas 95% or 97% of the people are saying that they'll not be able to do it, the end result would be cry of joy, right? मैंने इसको थोड़ा सा फिल्मी और रूप दे दिया है, खुशी के आंसू, right? Because 97 of the people or 95% of the people were not having a belief in Dr. Deepti and Dr. Himanshu and those 2 to 5% of the people who went with them in bringing in those changes. So the end result is cry of joy out of this. So from this, you can understand the transformation point. From this, you can understand the transformation point is when we go from resistance to exploration. So if you're on the left hand side, which is denial and resistance, that means we're having low stability, high chaos is there, high emotional stress is there, control will become a major issue, high undirected energy is there, we always glorify the past, conflict increases in these two stages, and resistance starts to build. Whereas if we are able to experiment those things, and in spite of those difficulties, we are not able to, we are not going to give up, that means we have shifted our orbit from past to future. That means we are regularly in the stage of exploration and commitment. Exploration is our learning zone, commitment is our growth zone. That will make us more stable and resilient. We'll have high adversity quotient, and our control will be overpowered by discovery, and we'll be able to moderate energy supply in situations. We'll be having a future oriented course of mind. We'll be able to resolve conflict, and joy of confusion starts here. I'll go back again to 3 different types of thinking, and I'll conclude these 2 slides here itself. If I have to give a percentage on this present focus thinking, past focus thinking, and future focus thinking, I'll give 65% of the percentage to future focus thinking. I'm sorry, present focus thinking, 65% to present focus thinking, 25% to future focused thinking, because I should be able to foresee next 2 or 3 years, and based on that I should design my process or systems. So 65 plus 25 makes it 90, and 10% to past focused thinking, because we can't ignore the past experiences which will help us to make us the base for any particular process or system. So 65 to present focused thinking, 25% to future focused thinking, and 10% to past focused thinking. And let me tell you, there is no fixed percentage. Every person has a different, you can say, way of allotting the percentages. But the general thing is, when we do any particular task which would be more into present focused thinking, the second highest should be future focused thinking, and third highest should be the past focused thinking. Now let's go one by one into progressive, collaborative, and resilient mindset. So if you remember the last 2 slides, if you are on learning zone and growth zone, you're oscillating like a pendulum in between these 2 zones. That means you will be able to survive, or you will be able to do better in any particular era, because exploration and commitments makes you progressive in nature. Now, my dear friends, my question is, When we talk about progressive mindset, there are four components. There are four components which makes us progressive in nature: self-diagnosis, listening, self-control, and humility. If I have to self-diagnose whether I am progressive or not, what are some of the questions that I'll be asking myself? Can you write it in the chat box? If you as a leader, or you as an entrepreneur, or I as an entrepreneur have to diagnose whether I am progressive in nature or not, what are some of the questions that we should ask ourselves? Yes, let's have some answers. In self-diagnosis, as a business leader, what are some of the questions that either you or me should ask in order to know whether we are progressive in nature or not? Okay, so Shubham says, Hanif says, I'm giving my 100% or not. Very good. What are the flaws in me that I need to fix? Very right. Am I open to trying new things? Good. Some more questions can be, do people see me as an honest and responsible person or not? Do people feel safe in my company? Along with the questions that you have pasted in the chat box. And if the answers for most of these questions are yes, that trademarks that you are progressive in nature. Second is listening. Why listening is important for a progressive leader? Thank you, Madhumita. Leadership style and the skills which required for leadership. Now let's go to the second component which talks about listening. Why listening is important? If you are progressive in nature, why that listening part is very important? What does that signify if you are having good listening power or not? If I'm not having good listening power, what difference it would make? And if Dr. Deepthi and Dr. Himanshu, they are having good listening power, what difference it will make for them as a progressive leader? Thank you, Riyansha, to understand others' viewpoint, because when you understand other viewpoint, you bring in new innovative ideas of doing the same particular task in different ways. Then Shubham also says listening helps to gain the skill of empathy and other person feels valued. Very right. They take that sense of ownership also in completing that particular task, and things becomes easier for the leader also as well as for the self also. They have that self motivation to complete those tasks based on that sense of ownership. So that is the reason listening is very important. Third is self control. How we can increase our particular self control that will make us more progressive in nature. Yes, how we can increase our self control? Rishi, good listener, always go ahead from good skilled person. Very right. Let's go to the third component, self control. How we can increase our self control? Thank you, Riyansha. Hanif says to control your emotions. Hanif, I'll add to this. How we can control our emotions is by stretching the space between stimulus and response. Anything which makes me feel angered, I should not give a reply to that particular thing on that particular instance. Rather than that, I should stretch the space between stimulus and response. That will help me to take control of myself, and I'll be giving you a reply in a much, you can say, better way. So very right, Madhumita, with effort and practice, we can increase self-control. It's very easy to say stretch the space between stimulus and response, but with due course of time and experience, we understand this particular philosophy of how we can have a better self-control, right? And then the last component, which talks about humility. So gone are the days when there was a commanding leadership style. What our bosses used to say, we used to follow that. Now bosses, they have also become more participative in nature, and they involve their teams in having different ideas. So they have to, we as a progressive leader have to change our particular ego, you can say orbit from ego, to becoming more humble in nature. Then is the second part, collaborativeness. How we can become more collaborative in nature. Again, there are four components which makes us collaborative in nature. We should become a facilitator. Any idea what is the quality of a facilitator? We should become a facilitator. So what is the quality of a facilitator? Let's have quick answers. We are left with 15 more minutes. I hope Dr. Deepti, you are going on time.
Yes, sir.
So 11:45 is our end time for this particular, you can say, session. Then last 10 minutes, if we have any questions, we'll keep it for that.
Sure, sir.
So you are saying a facilitator is open to change, excellent communication and presentation skills. Good. What more? Experience of writing and delivering training. Facilitator. Satyendra has shared. Okay. I think Dr. Satyendra ji has shared. Active listening. Vyansha says, Shruti says, have a keen observation skills, active listening, very good, and giving opportunities. So to sum it up, what all of you have shared it here, facilitator basically adopts very good, Rishi, good interpersonal management skills, good interprets. So facilitator basically adopts ask versus tell approach. One way is I am telling all of you that this is the right way of achieving business excellence. This is one way I'm telling you. Another way is I'm asking you, do you think this is the right way of achieving business excellence? Or there can be any other additions to this? So facilitator basically adopts ask versus tell approach, which helps the team to have their viewpoints. They are being listened by their leaders and they get involved in that particular task. So it's very important to become a facilitator if you have to become more collaborative in nature. And second is develop the workforce for the future. So I'll not go deeper into that because we are falling short of time. A leader has to work both on upskilling people as well as the reskilling their particular people. And third is freedom to build professional networks. So gone are the days when we used to have a close circle within the organization. Now for learning best practices, whether we are in education sector or whether we are in corporate sector or whether we are in government sector, it's very important to build professional networks outside, because from there also we'll come to know what are the different best practices followed by our competitors in the market, and we can also try to inculcate some of those best practices in order to improve our particular process and systems. And lastly is a leader has to become more like a servant leader. Now, servant leader doesn't mean that he becomes a servant, but servant leader is having a quality where he or she works on the happiness factor of their particular team. Because if the team is happy, obviously the productivity of the self as well as the team will go higher, which will help us in achieving the targets of the organization. Now, let's go through the last part, which talks about how we can become more resilient in nature, which can help us in achieving the business excellence. Because if we are progressive in nature, if we are collaborative in nature, and if we are not resilient in nature, all our progressiveness and collaborativeness will collapse if we are not having resilience. Any idea what is this word called resilience, or what is the meaning of word resilience? My dear faculty members would be knowing about this, and I'm sure students will also be aware of this term or this word called resilience. What is resilience? Quickly, let's have some answers. We are left with 11 more minutes. What is resilience? So we have three answers: to come up with difficult, to cope up with things, unpredictable changes in environments, Satyendra says, and challenging life experience. Resilience is very simple. It's basically the art of bouncing back in shape. or in other words, you can say perseverance also builds that particular resilience. So the art of or the ability to spring back into shape is resilience. Now, resilience, for building our particular resilience, we have to work on three components, or you can say three elements. First is ambiguity threshold. When we talk about ambiguity threshold, I'll give you an example. When we face any uncertain situation, whenever we face any uncertain situation, we jump to conclusions and we think, what if this is not going to work, what will happen to me, right? So we jump to the conclusions part, and if I am having this kind of thinking, what if this is not going to work, that means I am having a problem oriented approach. I am not thinking of the solutions, instead I am thinking of the problem. If I am not able to achieve this particular thing, what can be the end result, right? So if I am having this kind of approach or thinking, my ambiguity threshold, dealing with uncertainties, that threshold will go down. Whereas the right approach should be, what might be the situation? Even if I don't have a solution, I have my dear colleagues with me, Dr. Deepthi and Dr. Himanshu. They are expert in these fields. I'll take their particular help. So I should have a solution oriented approach. And instead of thinking of what if this is not going to happen, what will be the end result, I should think in a different way, that come what might be the situation, I have plan B for this. But it's very easy to talk about how we can improve this ambiguity threshold. For that, we need the other two components. First, we should start with a positive internal monologue. हिंदी में अगर बोलूं तो इसको ये बोलेंगे, कोई भी सिचुएशन आ जाए, I'll be able to sail through this particular situation. So if I'm having a positive self-talk with me, that will help me in moderating my energy supply, which is the third component mentioned here. A positive monologue, internal monologue, will help me to moderate my energy supply in different situations, and the end result would be I'll be having a higher ambiguity threshold. So these things will help us in building the resilience. Now, again, there is a question for all of you. Do you think this is a very simple way of building the resilience, and this particular resilience can be built? Or do we need any other thing apart from this in order to build a resilience? In words, I have explained it very easily. This is how you can build your resilience. Or do we need some additional thing in order to build a resilience? Thank you, Suman ma'am, for sharing. Resilient means being able to bounce back quickly from challenges or setbacks. So again, I'm repeating the questions. Does positive internal monologue, channelizing the energy and increasing the ambiguity threshold in the way I have shared with you, it can be built in this way, or do we need some additional thing apart from this? Being with supportive people, Riyansha. But Riyansha, let me share it with you. When 2 or 5% of the people they reach the last stage, you can well imagine that most of the people will leave the game in between. In businesses also, a lot of times in 2 or 3 years, we close our particular startups. Only those people who are able to persist in those 2 or 3 years, they are able to cross that particular stage, and they are able to further grow in their particular life. So what are some additional things that we need apart from this, which will help us in becoming more resilient? Thank you, Muskan. Action can be taken. I'll request you to elaborate more on this. What action should be taken? Shruti says confidence is again needed. Positive mindset is needed. I'll say we need ABC for this. Now, what is this ABC? What is this ABC? I'll share it with you. This is this ABC is activating trigger, belief, and consequences. Now, let's again take an example of positive leaders Dr. Deepthi and Dr. Himanshu, and negative leader Hitesh, right? Any situation, we three of us are encountering the same sort of situation in our particular life. In my particular case, if I'm facing that situation, let's take an example. Since I'm a negative leader, my reaction would be like, what's going to happen to me if I'm not able to perform this particular task, or if I'm not able to achieve the end result. So my activating trigger is starting with a shock or setback. Whereas in Dr. DP's case and Dr. Himanshu case, if they handle any uncertain situation, their activating trigger is we'll find out a solution for this. So in their particular case, their activating trigger is starting in a positive way, due to which their perception, attitudes, beliefs, thoughts, and meaning of any particular thing will go positive. And the end result is they'll be having an emotional balance, as well as their behavior with others would be very good, and they'll be able to achieve the targets, or they'll be able to perform higher in the capacity as compared to Hitesh. Because in the case of Hitesh, his activating trigger was loss and setback, due to which his perception, attitude, beliefs, thoughts, everything went negative in the way, and he lost his emotional balance, as well as he was not behaving right with other people. So the consequences was negative, and the performance also went negative. So this is why we say when we have a positive internal monologue, that means we are having a positive activating trigger, due to which our belief system would be either built up or it will be destroyed. And the end result depends either it is on the built up or on the destroyed. You know both the sides of ABC. So it's better to have a positive activating trigger, which will help us in believing, which will help us in building the right kind of mindset, and the consequences would be positive, as I have shared in case of Dr. Deepti and Dr. Himanshu. So lastly, how we can add value to organization culture by keeping in mind this PCR. First, we have to keep working continuously on this PCR mindset, because that will help us in continuous improvement. And second, for every critical work, we should keep our ABC positive, like the way I have shared it in case of Dr. Deepti and Dr. Himanshu. And third, whether it is any era, industrial revolution 5, 6, or any era comes, we should never stop experimenting and discovering. If you remember, I also talked about those two stages, exploration and commitment. So, like a pendulum, we should oscillate ourselves. If we are oscillating in between those two stages regularly, our version would be there in the market for long as compared to other versions. And lastly, irrespective of any era, we should develop a philosophy of out with the old, means old systems, and in with the new, because that will basically help us in having a child syndrome or learner syndrome. And the more learner syndrome is there, we'll learn new technologies and systems, and we'll apply those things in our particular businesses also. So thank you so much. This is all from my side, Dr. Deepti, Dr. Himanshu, my dear faculty members and students. If you have any questions, most welcome.
Students, you can write your question chat box.
We have one question from Rishi. I think Rishi sir, right?
Rishi is student.
Rishi is student, right, right. So the question is how to build mindset if we are lacking behind somewhere. As I shared with you, Rishi, you have to basically get out of that particular fear zone. कई ऐसी चीजें होती हैं जिसमें मेरे को डर लगता है. Till the time you don't face that particular fear, you will not be able to come out. And for that, you have to test yourself in those particular things in which you are having a fear, right? And again, second thing is I can't be a master of all, or I can't be a master of all the qualities. All qualities would not be there in me. So I should look out for people also who can help me in building that particular quality. Second question is what makes a great leader and what skills required for leadership? Again, the same answers I have shared towards the end also. You should never stop experimenting. You should be able to take risks, right? You should become more humble, or you can say humbly confident in nature. Earlier we used to say you have to become more confident in nature, but now as a business leader you have to become more humbly confident in nature. Even though if you're not aware of different technologies, you should be able to take people from different backgrounds who are able to leverage that particular technology. That will help us in becoming a great leader. Then we have another questions from Rianch. Any advice on how to handle setbacks or negative experiences while trying to maintain a positive attitude? Start talking with positive people. Start talking, apart from talking to positive people, start reading those inspirational stories or movies which helps you in understanding how difficult situations can be handled, and try to push yourself in those situations. If you are facing such kind of situations, don't run from those situations. क्या होगा, जाए शायद हम हार जाएंगे, कोई चक्कर नहीं, बट गिव इट अ ट्राई. एंड लास्टली आई विल से बिकम जीडीपीज. हम लोग ज्यादातर डरते हैं कि इफ यू डू अ मिस्टेक, what others will think. GDP in my particular dictionary, I call it as Galti da Putla. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. If you want to go into creativity and innovation, you should be ready to make mistakes, because till the time you don't make mistakes, you will not be able to come up with creative and innovative way. And the last thing, don't make GDP as an excuse also. Right? कई बार हम बार बार बोल देते हैं ना कि मैं तो गलती का पुतला हूँ, तभी मेरे से ही गलती हुई है. So don't take it as an excuse also. Right? There are lot many questions, Dr. Deepti, which are flowing in. So which question we should take? आप बताओ, एक एक करके लेते हैं क्वेश्चन.
So your session is so interesting. So the way you generate inquisitiveness. So this is the reason students are raising some questions.
Thank you. So
Let me.
we'll take all the questions.
You can take
We are left with 13, 14 more minutes.
3 to 4 questions, sir. You can take.
Right. So I'll start with Rishi. Rishi has shared, I believe in present thinking, but future thinking rule my mind and it creates overthinking. So this is Rishi where we have to control our mind. And let me share it with you different to more into the present. Like, if I'm not wrong, Rishi, a lot of you might be going to gym, or you might be going for sporting activities, or going to some leisure activities, means going outside on hills, and a few of you might be reading books, watching movies also. That basically what it does is it brings our mind to the present. And there is one word called mindfulness. If you are having that mental state of being in present mode, our overthinking will slowly and gradually stop. And for stopping this overthinking, we have to unplug from our normal schedule. Let it be in case of studies, let it be in case of teaching, as our faculty members are doing, or let it be in case of training. In my case, I have to unplug from my normal schedule. That will help me to stop overthinking to an extent. Now let's go to the next question. I hope she have answered your question. Shruti says, sir, as many times we have seen people think that only 5% go to the expression stage, then why to try? Shruti, it is your wish, right? I'll not say that this person is wrong or that person is right, but if you want to achieve more things in your life at a fast pace, you have to be under those 2 or 5% people. I'll never say that people who are in job they are not good people, or people who are in business they are good people. It is the lifestyle that we have chosen. People who are in job they have also progressed a lot over the years. Am I right, Dr. Deepti, Dr. Himanshu? And people who are in business they have also progressed. So it doesn't mean that people are in job are not that much progressive in nature. They are also progressive. Based on their nature, they have progressed, or you can say got promoted to different positions over a very short time also, right? So it's up to you whether you want to be those 2% or 5% of the people, whether you are in a job or in a business, right? Now, Shubham says all these qualities and mindset we are talking about, what impact it can create in our personal lives apart from organization point of view. In your personal life, you will be one such person जिसमें कहते हैं ना कि जब आपकी फैमिली और रिश्तेदार, आई ट्रांसलेट इट इन इंग्लिश ऑल्सो, when your family and your relatives will look out for somebody who is having a solution for anything, they look out only for you, Shubham, not for anyone else. So it's again up to you if you want to have this mindset or the other mindset, which is fixed mindset, right? Any other question that we have in the chat box, or if anybody wants to put the question right now?
I think all questions you have answered.
So students, pass हो गया, fail हो गया. देखो, it's a test for everybody. Like faculty members take your test. It's a test for us also when we take your sessions now. So you give us the marks. Thank you so much. Dr. Deepik, with your due permission, can I ask for a request from faculty members and favor from faculty members and students?
Absolutely. Sure, sir. Go ahead.
Right. If you like my session, or even if you don't like my session also, on Google, if you type speaker and consultant Hitesh Gulati, I have a Google review page. I'll be very means grateful to you. Can write down some feedbacks, how what part you liked in the session. I'll be happy to hear from you on that particular page. You can simply type speaker and consultant. I'm writing it in the chat box. Speaker and consultant Hitesh Gulati. And my dear friends, student friends, and faculty members, let me share it with you. I also enjoyed this session a lot because there was a lot of responses which were flowing in when we were having discussions on different slides, when we were having that particular you can say discussions. I was happy to see those particular responses there. If you want the link of my Google review page, give me a second. I'll just search on Google. Otherwise, it's there on my WhatsApp. What I'll do is I'll share it with the Deepti ma'am, and Deepti ma'am can share the link with all of you. Is that okay, Deepti ma'am?
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. We'll do. We'll do the.
Right. So right. So with your due permission, Dr. Deepti, should we end the session here itself?
Sir, let me propose a vote of thanks. Okay. Once a great
Deepti ma'am,
man. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry to say, there's one last question from Hanif. If you allow, I'll answer that question.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Hanif has asked a question: how hard to say no to your manager when he's giving something work to you to say direct no? It's better answer. Hanif, can you make me understand your question in a better way? Because, or let me share it with you. You want to ask if you have to say no to your manager, what is the best way of saying no in a polite way? Is that the question that you have asked? Hanif, are you there? Okay. I'm not getting a response from Hanif, but still I'll answer this question. There was this habit was there in me also. I used to say yes to my particular boss in early ages of my career, and the end result was sometimes I got delayed in my normal, you can say, tasks. So one of my other bosses made me learn you should know what are your specialized areas in which you are doing your particular task, and the areas in which you are not specialized, you should have that ability of politely saying no by stating the reason to the manager. That's a, these are not the areas in which I'll be more productive in nature. In fact, you can suggest somebody else's name, because never leave anybody with a you can say in a problem, but with a solution. So you can say it's better you can get in touch with ABC ABF person in order to get this particular thing resolved. Rest, if it is related to these are fields which is related to complete this particular task. So this is how we can say no to the other tasks which does not fall under your core competence areas. Thank you so much, Dr. DP. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Once a great man said, feeling gratitude and not expressing it like wrapping a present and not giving it. Today, I take this opportunity to put all my gratitude in the form of words and propose a vote of thanks. A big thank you to our guest speaker, Mr. Hitesh Kumar Gulati, for his efforts towards presenting his ideas on PCR mindset for business excellence. A very beautifully explained the cycle of thinking and change. We are indeed grateful, sir, to have you amongst us today. Further, I express my sincere thanks to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir Professor R.T. Patidar, who is a well-wisher of all our activities. He is not only an academician, but also an expert in the administrative affairs of the university. I extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Himanshu for his kind support and guidance, not only to students, but to us, faculty as well. I also extend my sincere thanks to all my dear faculty members and my lovely students for making this evening successful. Thank you all, and thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us uh, about PCR mindset, and definitely looking forward to
Thank you,
have
ma'am.
you more on different things. And this inquisitiveness really
Thank
helps us in working on like PCR. The first thing which came to, what is this PCR? And one more thing, I'm looking forward to attend your session
you.
on tabla stress management. uh, and
This
uh,
this
and
was the you spoke about this, Preeti, this was my session in the
I'll
morning.
be I'll
And
be
on a lighter
discussing.
note, I always
I'll be sharing this with my students as well, that they should
tabla
also
approach,
attend.
tabla approach
attend.
as an art of managing stress.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank
So,
you so much, and hope to see you soon again. Thank you.
sure, sir. Okay, sir. Bye. Have a nice day.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.